What's up, guys? It's Bromley from Empire Barbell. Today, I want to talk about this is actually a question I got on a comment thread. It had to do with what my educational background was. So I wanted to take a minute to talk about my thoughts on education and how it relates into this field, whether you're a recreational athlete, whether you're a coach, what the role of a formal education is, what I think about it, and how you should approach it if you're thinking about going into that field, or if you're evaluating somebody else and you're trying to weigh out their credentials and experience. So to answer the question first, my academic experience, I spent about 10 years dealing with school, with formal school, going to colleges, junior colleges, and then I went to a university for a couple of years. 10 years, couple different fields. I don't think any of my units coalesced in one single degree. I went from kinesiology, liberal arts. I thought I was going to get a math degree for a while. I really didn't know what the hell I wanted to do, and I was really just in there because I thought I was supposed to be. I was part of the generation that got that wonderful wisdom that you need a degree to succeed, which is about the fucking worst advice you could get from anybody. If your parents told you that, they lied to you. They didn't know what to tell you, and that's just what everyone else was saying, so they went along with it. The only real reason you need a degree is if you have an actual career in mind that requires a degree. If you want to be a lawyer, doctor, physical therapist, whatever, there's certain fields where you are blocked from entering unless you have a degree. So if you have a life plan like, hey, I want to be an actuary. Yeah, to be an actuary, you need a degree. Then you better pursue that goal by the only means you have available, which is to go to the university, get the degree, and pursue that career. Most of those professional fields reward you with a steady job and a very good salary. A lot, and I would argue most, of the educational avenues that universities have made available reward you with dick, with absolutely nothing. Now, the obvious ones, everybody brings up the feminist studies, or the degree in Chicano history, things that might have a career lined up for you if you have a job where you just need any degree. Some government jobs you have to have a bachelor's, doesn't matter what it's in, you just need a degree. Or if you want to be the curator of a museum or something, but there's not a lot of options out there, and the risk reward, what you have to put up as far as what you're going to get back, you're going to end up with a shit ton of debt and not a lot of job opportunities. So most of the careers out there, it's simply not worth it. Successful people are going to know that if you go out in the world and you learn from people who are smarter than you, you surround yourself with success-oriented people, you make the right friends, you make the right moves, and if you're diligent and tenacious, no matter what you choose to do, you're going to rise up to the top. That's just the way it is. That's true in all fields, with or without a degree. Some of the educational opportunities are in kind of a gray area where people think you need a degree, but you actually don't. I would count this field specifically under that umbrella, and I think there's a lot of people that are humoring things like exercise science degrees as a way to get into the field of coaching, or being a strength coach or an athletic coach. I don't know what the rule is if, let's say, you want to coach the LA Rams. I don't know. I'm sure they require some degree. A fuck ton of experience, obviously. I don't know if they need a degree or not. Now, for most of you, getting anywhere in this field is going to be a matter of starting small, probably operating from a local gym, small stable of clients, maybe working up, getting more notoriety, maybe doing group classes, eventually building up enough of a name that maybe you can do some remote coaching. And then as time goes on, you have the option of doing things like seminars, or maybe making online web courses. There's a lot of possible opportunities you can carve out for yourself in this field. Absolutely none of those things require a degree. So the question is, okay, if it doesn't require a degree, will a degree make you better? Now, I see a degree, or let's just say a formal education. I see a formal education as being kind of a barrier to entry. There's like a certain amount of formal education that you need, and anything beyond that really doesn't give you any return. So, yeah, you need to know how the human body's put together. You need to have a couple of hard science classes. You need to spend some time in a lab. The best thing I did in school, for the time that I did spend trying to carve out a kinesiology degree, were attend the lab classes. Whether astronomy, physics, cell molecular biology, organic chemistry, I took a ton of chemistry labs. Those were the best classes you could take, not because of the information you learned, but because they taught you to think critically. It was up to you to execute this study or follow this series of steps You had concrete objective measurements you had to make, and at the end you were graded on how close your measurements were towards the sound physical principles of what you expected. And most of the class was spent trying to figure out what the fuck your sources of error were. If you aren't aware of what your potential pitfalls are going to be, what your potential sources of errors are going to be, then you're going to go through life half-cocked, making really just hardline stances, engaging in dogma and idolatry and following certain protocols because you just think that's the way it should be, and you're not going to check yourself. Those lab classes make you really good at checking yourself and thinking critically, and that is essential just for life in general. You cannot be your biggest fan. You have to be willing to criticize yourself, to be aware of the way that you could potentially get things wrong. You have to be the first one. You have to catch the errors before other people recognize them. You have to be the first one to recognize that, shit, I was going through life with this assumption, or I was going into this problem with this assumption. That assumption turned out to be wrong, and now I'm left with egg on my face. So those classes are extremely vital. But once you get beyond that, I mean, once you have a basic working understanding of anatomy and you kind of understand how the body works and it's put together, the rest of it is learning people. It's learning different body types, different psychology, different mindset. It's learning how to, what the accepted principles are, what the accepted methods are, and figuring out how to apply those in a meaningful way to different people depending on their individual circumstances. There is no academic course for that. There is no higher education that says, here's the meaningful dissection between, let's say the Bulgarian weightlifting method and the Chinese method. Here's, the conjugate method versus, linear periodization for elite bench pressers. And these are the scenarios in which it works and doesn't work, in which we've had success and had failures. You have to go out and figure that shit out on your own. So that's why there is no substitute for experience. So, in short, I am critical of the academic system. It is a business more than anything. Best marketing system ever. You can learn a lot from them as far as marketing and building a brand, because they convince an entire generation of parents to pressure their kids into going to college, whether they could afford it or not, whether they were going to be better off for it or not. Anyways, as it pertains to coaches, I'm sure you run across people all the time that have those letters at the end of their name. I will take somebody with zero academic background who's been successfully coaching somebody for 2 decades over somebody who has spent 20 fucking years at a university reading the most cutting edge studies. There's the academic component and there's the field component. In this arena, the field component wins every single fucking time. So I just watched an interesting interview with, or it was a YouTube video, with Dave Tate and Jim Wendler. And for as much as I give shit to the conjugate groupies, Dave Tate's an intelligent guy. I do have a lot of respect for his experience and the things that he does know, both as a coach and as a business and brand owner. I take a lot from him. But Wendler asked him flat out, you have a degree in exercise science. Do they know anything? Dave paused and he said, practically, no. He said he learned a lot from the nutrition component. As far as training, nothing. Wendler followed that up by saying we learned 100% of what we know with regards to training outside of school, to which Dave Tate completely agreed. So that reinforces my personal experiences. I mean, the time I did spend in kinesiology, the classes they took to try and take that little bit and stretch it into a full curriculum, it was so obvious. We took intro to kinesiology, which was basically 6 weeks for them to teach you how it actually is a real degree, because you're going to meet people that say, oh, isn't that a degree in PE? They were acknowledging as you entered into the class that people are going to tell you, oh, it's a degree in PE. Well, they rename it pedagogy, but that's exactly what it means. Psychology of kinesiology was an entire class. I remember I'm not kidding, we spent 90 minutes with Play-Doh. All right, we were supposed to take the Play-Doh, and with the Play-Doh, we were supposed to make the graph of aggression versus precision, right? Because as aggression goes up, precision goes down, and as aggression goes down, precision goes up, and that's in the middle. That's where the zone is, where you're at the right mix of it. It's a very simple concept. It takes 5 minutes to teach somebody. We spent a 90-minute class period not drawing the graph, not discussing the graph, making the graph with Play-Doh. And that was at Cal State San Bernardino, which is known for their kinesiology program. It was embarrassing. I got through the first year of that and realized this is an absolute fucking waste of time and money, and I got out, and I am all the better for it. So, long story short, don't stop learning. Don't stop taking in new information. Talk to the smartest people you can find. Talk to the most accomplished people you can find. Never assume that you figured it all out. It's the biggest mistake people can make. Always be your biggest always be your biggest worst critic, and always apply the information you have the first chance you get. Okay, it's up to you to test it, figure out when it's valid, when it's not valid. Never stop learning. But remember, the learning doesn't happen once you hear the information. It happens once you apply it and you test your results. Be critical of people that are high on education and low on experience. Those tend to be the absolute worst / most arrogant trainers and coaches. And there's a lot of them, because going to school following a curriculum's easy. Working your own case studies and applying critical thinking, that's a little trickier. So what are your experiences? If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, leave it in the comments. Let's get a discussion going. But until next time, I'm Bromley with Empire Barbell. I'll see you.